There I am. All right, we're on. All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for Wales Darby Fall Training Wednesdays. My name is Jim DePalma. With me today answering questions in the background and causing mayhem, as always, is Rob Clemens.
That's right.
Say hi, Rob.
Hello, all. How we doing?
And running the board, and thank God she's always here, is Christiane Levine, because without her, we can't do this. And Brett is also here. He runs our marketing. So, good morning. We are here to do a system approach to venting condensing boilers. This is going to be Centrotherm centric, because we represent Centrotherm venting products. Now, we have done this webinar before. Today, I'm going to try to put a different slant on it as best as I can. So, what I want to talk about are things that we have seen, thank you, Chris, things that I have seen, we have seen, myself, Rob, John, Anthony, and Rick, out in the field when it comes to mechanical systems and venting. So our first slide that you see up there gives you a snapshot of a typical mechanical room that we have been talking about in our webinars. We have covered, condensing boilers. I know Anthony has done a lot with low temperature systems, explaining what condensing is. We've talked a lot about making sure that we pipe these systems correctly. What is the difference between primary, secondary, and just a regular supply and return? We have talked about zoning these systems, whether pumps or zone valves, how to pipe it, all that kind of stuff, getting the air out. Everything you see on that picture we have talked about in one of our webinars at some point in time, last season, this season, as we continue going forward. And we do talk about the venting, but what I still see out there, guys, is venting as an afterthought. And it cannot be an afterthought. So these are the things I'm going to be focusing on today. Yeah, I'm going to be talking about the product and why you want to use it, but I really want to talk about the venting itself. So I came up with a couple of rules, all right? So these are the Jim DePalma rules. All right, Rob, you ready for this?
Sure.
So rule number one, if you go out with anybody from Wales Darby and you take us into a mechanical room or a job and you want us to, look over how can I install this or what's the best way, rule number one is going to be, can I vent this appliance correctly? Very, very important. So whether you're doing a condensing boiler, a condensing tankless water heater, a condensing tank type water heater, if I cannot vent it properly, if I have to really work hard to get the venting in there in some haphazard way, don't put that appliance in. Because the venting should not be a secondary system. The venting should be the priority because it's a life safety system. It truly is. All right, we have to keep that in the back of our mind, because since the last time I did this webinar, I've been out on many jobs and the venting has been a disaster. Terrible, as Rob just said. All right, and we really do have to be paying attention to that. And we have, great options today with the Centrotherm venting system. So I want you to think, and if I do my job right today, you're thinking of this product as a system, because it is. It's not something that you're going to cobble together by getting parts and pieces, measuring, cutting, gluing, hopefully hanging it properly. No, this is set up. This product is made so it is got built-in pitch. It is a venting system, much easier to install. So rule number one, if I'm going to put in any type of condensing product, can I vent it properly? And if not, look for a different product. All right, don't force the venting in. It's only going to cause problems. Rule number two, always use outdoor air for combustion. Grab that outdoor air. Don't attempt to use room air. A lot of homes get a condensing appliance that's 199,000 BTUs. All right, because a lot of them are doing domestic hot water. And at 199,000 BTUs, Rob, we need 2.5 tractor trailers of free airspace within that area for proper combustion. We're not going to get that in somebody's home, all right? We're not even going to get that in a lot of commercial mechanical rooms because of all the product that is in there. Grab outdoor air for combustion. Very, very important. And rule number three, and this is what we're going to really focus on today, is using the right material for your venting. And that is going to depend, guys and gals, on how you set up your system. Now, again, we have talked about hydronic systems, high temperature, low temperature, the supply water temperature, the return water temperature, delta T, all that stuff. And that does influence the material that you use for venting. All right, so that's what we're focusing on today. So let's get into it. So this slide here, PVC, CPVC, polypropylene, which would be our Centrotherm system, and stainless steel venting. These are all your choices today. And any manufacturer of anybody's condensing appliances will tell you you can use, our appliance is approved for all these different venting materials. How do you know which one to use? Rob, how do you know which venting material to use?
It has to say Centrotherm on
It
it.
has to say Centrotherm. that would be great. But really, it's going to depend on how you're setting up the system. Every manufacturer for an appliance will dedicate 10 to 11 pages of information on how to vent their product. But a lot of them do not, or any of them don't put in temperature ranges, which is really, really important. If you know the allowable temperature range for PVC, which seems to be the majority of the material that people are using for venting, type it in and let Rob know what you think the allowable temperature range is for PVC. All right? That's very important because I ask this question when I'm out on jobs, when I see PVC venting, and I see it starting to tan. And every contractor I said, hey, have you seen that before? They all say yes. And there's a reason for that tanning, and it's not dirt, all right? It's temperature. Any responses yet from anybody?
Yeah, we have 2 responses, both said 140 degrees.
Excellent. All right, so I think these are well-educated contractors that are on, or you've been to our webinars, and thank you for the response. So yeah, industry standard says 140 degrees for PVC. The PVC manufacturers do not publish a temperature range for their product for venting because it is not a venting material. But the industry will say 140. And the industry will actually even give it an extra 10 degrees, so 150. But what's really important to realize, that means if you're going to have a 140 degree flue gas temperature, your supply water temperature has to be 120 degrees going out into your system, because your flue gas temperatures are going to be a 20 degree hotter temperature. So I was thinking about this. This could be the rule of 20 if you want to think about it that way. Whatever my supply water temperature is going to be, my flue gas temperature will be 20 degrees hotter. So if that's the case and you run your system at 120 degree supply water max, PVC is a home run, not a problem. But if my appliance is also going to do domestic hot water, and my domestic hot water load is a good sized load, and quite often that appliance is going to high fire. So if it's high firing to its max of say 170, 180, now you're talking a flue gas temperature of 200 degrees. You are well past the temperature range or allowable temperature on PVC pipe. That's why you're seeing tanning pipe. It is starting to break down. And these are the things we have to be aware of, all right? We have to really be thinking about this, because we see a lot of condensing material, or appliances, I should say, go in replacing cast iron and not using any outdoor reset, not using internet weather that we can use here on our NTI condensing boilers. So these products run at 100%. They run at their high output, and they're vented in PVC. All right. Oh, but the manufacturer gave you a piece of CPVC to put on top of the appliance before you transition to PVC. And that should be my get out of jail free card. And the reason why they do that is because that would be the hottest spot right at the top of the appliance, but still your venting material is incorrect at that temperature. So you really have to be aware, if I'm going to put in that appliance and I can vent it properly, okay, great. What temperature am I running that system at? Because it has a profound effect on the material that you use. Now, the polypropylene that we're talking about today, Centrotherm, can handle up to 230 degrees with zero clearances to combustibles. And in order to pass a 230 degree test, it has to be able to handle 70 degrees higher than that. So that means it has to pass a 300 degree temperature test. I'll let that sink in for a second. 300 degrees, zero clearance to combustibles. No glues, no solvents, no nothing. So I'm pretty safe if I'm going to use polypropylene Centrotherm as my venting system for these condensing products. Stainless steel, yeah, doesn't matter what fuel I'm using and temperature range, I'm in good shape. But when we look at this as an industry, oh, the PVC should be the cheaper option. It's approved by the manufacturer for said appliance. I'm going to go with that. Gentlemen, you're taking chances, all right? And since the pandemic and supply issue shortages and things of that nature, the cost difference between PVC and polypropylene is very, very small now. Okay?
Yeah, so I got a question. So if they have to test to 300 degrees to get the 230 rating, does PVC have to go through the same test to 210 degrees?
No, because PVC is a pipe for drainage. It's a water pipe. It is not a venting material. Go on any manufacturer of PVC's website and try to find a white paper that'll explain or give you temperature ratings. They do not exist. All right? They don't exist. So this is not material meant for venting. Again, I could use it as long as I'm keeping within that 140 degree temperature. That means, again, your supply water temperature, you're talking is 120. So moving on, to make sure we all understand what the heck I was just talking about, when we condense, and we have talked about this in detail, what we are actually condensing is the products of combustion, the flue gases. And what we're doing is taking them from a gaseous state, which we can't see, back to a vapor state, back to a liquid state, capturing that latent heat energy that is in that liquid that is raining across the heat exchanger of the appliance. So by doing that, we're able to extract more BTUs and keep them in the boiler, which then goes into your house. All right? That condensate is very acidic. That's why we can't use metal vent. It'll eat right through it. All right? So that's why the run went to PVC because, or the industry, I should say, ran to PVC because, yes, it can handle that condensate. It doesn't damage the plastic. But again, what we're not paying attention to is running the system temperatures. So this chart shows you here that at 130 degree return, I start the condensing mode. So another interesting thing that we talk about when we're with contractors and they put in a condensing appliance, a lot of guys still think that just because it says it's 95%, that's where it's going to run. It's not going to run at 95% until you're at 90 degree and less return water temperature. You can see on the chart, whoops, sorry, hit the wrong button. You can see on the chart that if I get to 130, that's the dew point, that's when we start condensing, we get down to that 90 degree return. Now I'm getting to that 94, and if I get colder, now we get up to 95. So if I want 90 coming back, what's my supply water temperature? All right, that's, if we're going to stay within the 20 degree delta, I'm 20 degrees hotter, right? 110? Are you running your systems there? That's what you have to think about. So if I take out cast iron, put in a condensing appliance, but run it at high temperature, because I didn't do my heat loss, I didn't pay attention to, you know, what are the available amount of BTUs that I can deliver to that home, and run that system at high temperature and vent in PVC, I'm using the wrong material. The manufacturers of the appliances will show you that, yeah, you can use PVC as long as it goes by these ASTM standards. This D1785 and the ASTM F493 or 441. And basically, these standards are basically calling out that this is water pipe. And NFPA 54, International Fuel Gas Code, International Mechanical Code, all state that since these are Category 4 appliances, the manufacturer of that appliance is allowed to dictate what the venting material should be. That's why they say you can use PVC, but you have to be aware of the temperatures. Yes, sir. You have a question?
Yes, we have a question. Are there any boiler manufacturers that say you have to keep the supply temperatures below 140 to use PVC venting?
I haven't seen it. We used to represent one company that did call out not temperature, but they said for venting material you had to use their venting material, which was and is a polypropylene type product. So they didn't give you a temperature range, but they really wanted you to use their venting material. That was the only one manufacturer that I know of. But really, we're the professionals. We're getting paid to put this product in. We are the energy professionals. We're the ones making the recommendation to the customers. We are responsible for this, so we do have to pay attention to it. All right?
I got a gentleman actually that's saying that Navien does state that on their combi units.
Good. So we're starting to see that now, and that's one of the things we're going to talk about today. We're starting to see that. So this ASTM 1785, ASTM F441, they call out that this is for liquids only. All right? So again, no PVC manufacturer, CPVC manufacturer are going to say that they're for venting. This is for liquid only. And in these standards, it will call out, as you can see on the bottom, UL 1738 as the proper standing for venting, because there are very high standards if you're going to use a plastic-based product for venting. All right, same thing for ASTM F441, okay? Not for venting combustible gas, liquids only. All right, so again, how does this slip through the cracks? The manufacturer tested their product running in that high-end 90 to 95% condensing mode, so the flue gas temperatures don't get too high to damage a PVC type of product. So unless you're going to run your system in that type of mode or in that temperature range, as we should say, PVC, CPVC would not be your best bet. All right. I'm really going to be concentrating on that today. So if I keep repeating this, I'm trying to do, I don't know, as what a parent does to their child, right? I'm going to keep reinforcing this rule so everybody understands and everybody gets on the same page. All right. So please bear with me. If, like Jim, you've said it now a dozen times. I'm doing it for a reason because we see this out in the field. So what has happened, and as the gentleman said, that Navien is now starting to say that you have to on their combi units, UL has stepped forward and said now we have stricter rules, stricter regulations, and they are highly recommending 1738 as the standard for using a plastic venting material. When you do this, when you use a plastic venting material and you're not using a typical venting system like Centrotherm, you need to buy your pipe, you need to cut your pipe, bevel the pipe, right? Get your elbows, get your couplings, make sure you got the proper glues, glue it up, and now it's got some weight to it. PVC is not feathery, it's not the gossamer weight, right? I have to support this. And if I don't support it properly, we're going to get the sag in the middle, which, oh my gosh, we see quite often, which can now pool, condensate, and cause backdrafting, all right, with the venting, with the flue gases. So you got a lot of work to do here. And if I don't do all those things properly, we can have a problem here. As you're looking here at the Centrotherm product, it is a system. It is made for venting. We have our socket here at the end. This is the female side with a gasket, and our, thank you, Rob. Oh, God, you have no idea what I got to deal with him. All right, I know you are, all right? And we're going to be putting this together, and once it's together with no glues or solvents, we're ready to go. I don't have to have any curing time, and, we can fire up the appliance right away. You have to wait for the glues to cure because those vapors are flammable. We have to be aware of that, okay? Plus our product, any elbow or 45 have built-in pitch. So my elbow is not a 90 degree, it's an 87. I'm giving you that 1/4 inch pitch built into the product. One other thing to pay attention to when you buy the lengths of Centrotherm, the straight lengths, we measure from the beveled end to the bottom of that socket. The socket is not included in the equivalent length of the pipe. All right, so you're actually getting more material versus any other competitor of a like type of product when you use the Centrotherm product. Okay, so going forward, this chart here should really, show you what's going on. Again, there's your temperature ranges for all these different approved venting products, but it is going to be consistent with how you run your system. So PVC, it's saying 149. It's really 140. The industry gave it a grace of an extra 10 degrees, but I'm not going there. All right. If you want 140 temperature range in your venting, that's 120 supply degree water temperature. You got a bigger range in CPVC, but again, you got to glue it. It weighs more. All right. You have to be aware of that. The polypropylene Centrotherm up to 230 degrees. It weighs easily 50% less, easier to run, easier to set up. Yes, sir.
Yes, so we have another question here. Gentleman asks, have you seen the Centrotherm pipe crack throughout the years while in use? He's talking about he had a Viessmann concentric kit where the inner pipe broke apart, causing the gas to recirculate. So have we seen that?
I have not seen that, and I'm not saying that because we represent the company. I truly have not seen that. What I've seen is there's always a cause. Something had to make that happen. It just doesn't happen. So I'm wondering what went down. We represent a PEX pipe company, and we have seen PEX pipe mushroom up and not explode, but break, causing leaks on heating systems. Oh, it must be defective pipe. And 99.9% of the time, nope, it was a high limit on that boiler that failed, and the temperature ran too hot for the product. So I have not seen it. I guess anything is possible, but something had to cause it. I wish I knew what was that system running at? What temperature was we talking about? Okay. Good question. I'd like to know what the manufacturer came back with. What caused it? Something had to cause that. All right, so there's our temperature ranges. This is what you need to keep in mind. We go above those temperature ranges, and what we start to see are failures. And one of the things we see all the time is a lot of condensing appliances being installed and not maintained. Every condensing appliance manufacturer wants their product maintained. And since we are the NTI guys, we will tell guys, hey, if you have vented this properly, your maintenance goes down dramatically, meaning that your maintenance can be almost every 2 years, checking out the heat exchanger to make sure you don't have a lot of buildup inside the heat exchanger near the burner. But a lot of these appliances go in and nobody pays attention to them after they go in. Just goes in, done. Nobody does any type of service. Nobody wants to be involved on the service side. So as the products of combustion and all that condensing start to build up that residue around and inside the heat exchanger, not internal, on the outside of the heat exchanger, all right, starts to build up, we get less and less heat transfer. So if we get less heat transfer, that means the efficiency of the product goes down. That also means the product has to run at a hotter temperature in order to transfer the BTUs you need for your system. That also means then what? Your flue gas temperature is going to get hotter. So if I haven't used the proper venting material, I'm going to run into a problem. And we can have system failures. Now you see in the center there, that picture, that's a catastrophic failure. I haven't seen anything like that, but I've seen the colors of PVC occur out in the field. All right. And what we don't want to see is that catastrophe happen. So, this slide shows you, what the bad thing is that can happen if we fail. But what I want to bring to your attention per this slide, this only takes about 9.5 years to occur. All right. So if you're like me, getting older and every year goes faster and faster, that's a blip. That's a blip on the calendar, 9.5 years. So let's not even go there. Okay, let's put in the proper material and make sure we're confident in what we have done and we've given the homeowner the best system possible. And if I was out there as a contractor, I'm going to be talking it up. Not only am I going to give you the most efficient energy type of system in your house, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I'm going to make sure I vent it with the proper material to keep you and your family safe. All right? Why not? I'm a professional. I'm going to give them the best, and I'm going to tell them I'm going to give them the best. I want to make sure that your competitors also have to do that too. Let's raise the level of what we're doing out there. So again, UL comes in after seeing these type of failures out in the field and say we need stricter codes. So 1738 is our standard. And 1738, UL 1738, there is a litany of testing that has to be passed by that material in order to get this UL standard for venting with polypropylene product. So you can see here on the screen, its temperature, its impact, it's the amount of torsion or load at an elbow at a fitting that has to be able to pass. Handling the condensate, which is very aggressive. UV, who knew? UV is a big deal when it comes to venting because we're going to have our piping sticking out either from a chimney, from the roof, or the side of the building. And if it's going to be in sunshine a majority of the day, UV can build up internal temperature of that pipe and also break down plastic. If you've bought outdoor, inexpensive outdoor furniture from Walmart or Lowe's or whatever and left it outside for a while, you know that it breaks down. Put the biggest buddy you know in one of those chairs, and as it starts to dull, you know he's going to break it. All right? So these are big tests that we have to pass. So some interesting things here. So I talked about the load test on the elbows on the left-hand side, 4 times the weight between that elbow fitting and the next fitting. All right, that's a lot of weight. Condensate management, sure, the plastic has to handle that. 2.5 times pressure rating, okay, it has to handle that. But what's on the right-hand side is, to me, the most important. Low temperature handling. That means at -4 degrees for 5 hours, they drop the pipe onto concrete from I found about 10 to 15 feet in height. So, okay, why does that matter? Think about when you pick up your PVC from the supply house. It's been outside in their pipe yard, right, Rob? So it's outside in the pipe yard, all right? The gentleman's going to go out there. He's going to pull it off the rack. He's going to bounce one side of it on the ground. He's going to bring it to your truck, bounce the other side on the ground again. Then you're going to throw it on the rack of your truck. Get to the job, you're going to take it off and bounce it on the ground again. At 50 degrees, PVC starts to get brittle. So if we're at 50 degrees and lower and that pipe's been sitting out in the yard for days or weeks, it's gotten brittle. And when we're banging it around like that, we are putting cracks in that pipe, micro cracks. Well, that's not going to help us. That's not going to help us in our venting. Oh, I'll cut that end off. Hopefully you cut off enough. Who can tell you how much to cut off? So we have to be aware of things like this. UV protection. All right, if the pipe is sticking out and it's going to be in the sunshine, which we know it's going to be, all right, PVC will start to break down. It's plastic. All right, so we have to pass a UV protection standard. And again, elevated temperature. In order to get a 230 degree rating with our polypropylene pipe, our Centrotherm venting system, I have to pass 70 degree hotter temperature. That means 300 degrees. This pipe won't soften until 302 degrees. Nobody's running their systems at over 200 degrees here. So, this is a venting material. This is what you want to use. Yes, sir.
So we've got a bunch of questions.
Good.
All right. First, can you cut Centrotherm in the field? And if so, do you still need to have the bevel on it?
Yes and yes.
All right. Excellent. Next, talking about strapping standards, is there anything in particular that we should be doing as far as strapping the pipe up? And,
Yes, yeah, I'm going to show that in a couple of slides. But since it weighs less, the amount of supports, based on distance, will be less. It's lighter. You're going to need 3/8 threaded rod. We want to use the C-clamp type of supports. And you'll see that in another slide or two. We'll show you that.
Sure.
What else you got?
This gentleman is saying that one of his customers' boiler has a lot of ice buildup around the outside during the winter, around the outside of the pipe. My thought in this is maybe he doesn't have enough pitch backwards, and he's collecting the drain, because those appliances are meant to take back that
Right.
drain water.
We want that because that's where the latent heat energy is. That could be, and I'm pooling there.
Yep.
So I don't have the proper pitch. Yep, we've seen that. We've seen that. Anything else there, sir?
The Centrotherm lubricant.
Yes.
How does that work? Is it a glue? Is it a...
How does it work? It's very slick. But once it sets up, it's hard. We'll put that together. We'll show you. If you had the lubricant, great. You can even use water, or you can use saliva just to lubricate that internal gasket, as Rob tossed at me earlier, right? We have the gasket in our piping. This is going to take up the expansion and contraction that happens when you heat up a pipe, all right? So the lubricant is there just to make it easier to put the system together. So yeah, you can use our lubricant. If you didn't have it, water or saliva would work also.
Okay, and then do they sell a bevel tool? How do you put the bevel on the pipe?
The bevel I could sand that. I could do it with a razor knife. We're just taking the edge off just to make it easier to install. We don't want sharp edges. We don't want to have anything that's going to grab that gasket and twist it. Kind of standard stuff that we do in the industry when it comes to joining piping anyway. You should be doing the same thing if you're putting together PVC anyway, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
And that's it for now. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, good.
So this slide, the importance of UV rating, all right, we have seen these type of installs. We've seen these type of installs a lot, especially what you see on the right-hand side of the screen, where you see the white pipe, that's our air intake, and then the pipe that's tanning, that is our exhaust piping. So I got a couple of things going on there. My flue gas temperature are probably way too high, and I am picking up that UV, which is accelerating the pipe breaking down. So we have all seen this, all right? So you can't say we're making it up. You've all seen this. And since we're, installing and servicing, we're responsible now. If we go in to service something we didn't even install, we should be calling this stuff out because we don't want to be the last guy in there and then an issue happens. So one of the other things that UV can do is actually heat up the pipe, heat up the venting even with the appliances off, and then combined with a higher flue gas temperature, I can have too high a temperature in that material and start to cause a problem. All right. Another important thing. This slide here, yes, we always have to follow installation requirements and codes, but no mixing of manufacturers. The shock and awe we have seen of taking PVC and adapting it to Centrotherm. Hey, Rob, does Centrotherm make an adapter from Centrotherm to PVC?
Yes.
Not that I have seen, no. All right. And duct tape.
No, I'm thinking about the adapter that we use on the
don't.
unit.
Yeah, no. We do not, gentlemen. And duct tape is not something you can use. And I've seen that, and I've seen it in walls where they're coming up with their venting in PVC and then going through the wall with the poly pipe. First off, this is not even approved for a wall installation. I have 3 different methods of going through a venting cavity, so a gypsum one is available, but not in a wall. That is not approved. And I can't duct tape this to PVC. All right? If I'm telling you about this, gentlemen and ladies, I have seen this, so we cannot do things like this. No mixing of manufacturers. Don't even think about it. Okay? So now, National Fire Protection, National Fuel Gas, International Fuel Gas are all calling out the UL 1738 standard for venting. And also, part of our job is we talk to code officials. Code officials invite us in to train them on new products that manufacturers put out because they want to know how to inspect it properly. And yeah, I met with the code officials here. Since I'm coming from New Jersey, I'm telling you that the code officials here are very well aware of this and tell me that, yes, things move slow here in New Jersey, but the next code update that's coming out, this will be called out that you got to use a UL 1738 product for your venting. It's going to happen, all right? So be aware of it. And I don't think they're going to send out a bulletin because I asked them and they said no. So one day you may walk onto the job and the code official fails you based on your venting material. All right, so be aware of this, guys. Start using it. More states are starting to adopt it. In my territory that we are here in, yes, I'm coming from New Jersey, but we cover New York State and the 5 boroughs, and this is what's approved and mandated in those areas. All right, so be aware of this. So to sum this up, all right, UL 1738, is the standard for your category 2, 3, and 4. And we are concentrating on category 4, condensing appliances, all right? Want to make sure you're using the proper material, all right? And based on temperature. So let's get into the material here. This is polypropylene venting. This is Centrotherm. This is made here up in the Albany, New York area. So made here in the USA. They are a global company. So we are employing people here. So this is a big deal to a lot of our customers. Is it made here? Can I get it? Yes, yes, yes. So we have venting material. We have a flexible vent. We have our straight product, all right? We also have our concentric product, all right? Because a lot of times we don't want to put multiple holes through that roof or through a wall. We could do it with concentric. Again, our elbows and 45s are not true 90s and 45s. We're off by a few degrees on purpose to give you built-in pitch. So you can see the ratings, you can see the temperatures, all right? This is built for venting and only venting. This is not a water pipe, all right? I'm not using this to get rid of wastewater. This is not for that. It is venting. And it will reduce your labor time. So we had questions on installation, all right? No glues, nothing like that. We cut the pipe, all right? We bevel the edge, or if we're going to just use the regular beveled edge that's already there, we're good to go. We have our socket. Our socket is deeper on our large commercial. We go up to very large sizes on commercial, but the socket is there to take up expansion and contraction. Our 2, 3, and 4 inch will use a locking ring also, all right? And we cut the pipe. Then we take our product that's going to go into that socket. We would lube up our gasket. We put our lock ring on one side here, all right? So one side's got to clip on. That's all it has to do. So I'm going to put that on first. I'm going to take out my Centrotherm lubricant, which is Centrotherm, if I said it correctly. Did I say that right, Brett? Yeah. Brett said I said it right, so we're happy, all right? I'm going to put that on my gasket. This is going to make it much easier to slide on because it is a tight fit, okay? Slide it on, push up the tab, it connects, and done. That was it. Ready to go. How long did that take, Robbie?
Roughly about 15 seconds.
No curing time. And I did it right the first time. Yay me. Okay?
Really quick, just to get back to the beveling. They apparently do make beveling tools. One is by hand, and there's also a drill attachment. So depending on how much you're willing to spend to get that product,
great,
they are available.
Great. All right. So what we're showing you here on this screen is the depth of the socket. All right. So again, as we get into our larger sizes, 6, 8 inch and larger, all right, it's a deeper socket. I don't need that locking ring. But on my 2, 3, and 4 inch, which is your residential sizes, you're going to need that locking ring because the socket is not that deep. The socket is there plus the gasket to take up expansion and contraction. Because we're going to be heating up the pipe, it's going to grow, just like copper pipe would, just like PEX pipe would, just like iron pipe would. All right? But that's really, really important, because if I don't glue, if I don't cut, I don't bevel, use the proper glues, and support PVC properly, you have the chance, and a very strong chance, of a joint pulling out because of too much weight on it, not properly installed. All right? Things we want to take notice of. So here we're showing you temperature ranges again, what the polypropylene, the Centrotherm piping can do versus PVC and CPVC. So CPVC's got a greater range, but I got even a better range with the polypropylene pipe. You have another question?
Yeah, just real quick. They didn't really see the clip itself and how that actually works, so we got a question regarding that.
Well, the clip would be slid on. All right, I could take it off. So it just gets slid on here. This is the side that's going to clip onto this collar. All right, so we're going to push it up. You heard that click, and I'm good to go. That's basically it.
Thank you.
My pleasure. All right. So one of the things when it comes to supporting the pipe is the weight of the pipe. And we've seen some long runs with venting. And as long as you're within the appliance manufacturer's length of run, that's okay. But, you know, PVC, CPVC can weigh a good amount of weight. And if I get some long runs, I need a lot of support. You can see here how the Inaflu product, this Centrotherm product, weighs a lot less per foot. Okay? So if we're going to use an OSHA standards, 8.7 lengths of straight Centrotherm, one guy can handle, you know, versus 1.5 lengths of PVC. We want to keep everybody safe. All right? Just a visual, just so you can get the idea. So again, this screen is showing you how we put it together. We measure, we cut, and remember that the socket is not part of the overall equal length. We measure from the pipe is actually cut, if you get a 6-footer, from the beveled edge to the socket. That's 6 feet plus the socket, so you're getting more material. I measure, I cut, I chamfer the edge, and here we're showing you with just a razor knife, but there are tools, as that one gentleman said. I put my lock ring on, I put my lube on there. Again, if I don't have the lube, water or saliva would be fine. Boom, pop it together, done. Supporting the product, every 78 inches on the vertical, every 39 inches in the horizontal installations. We want to use these type of clamps with 3/8 threaded rod. Okay, so easy to set up. This is what we want to see out there on the job. Now, when it comes to installation, because I told you right up front that if I can't vent it properly, don't use the appliance. We give you all kinds of options when it comes to venting with this product. Most of these appliances are going to be 2-pipe systems. So I can vent with 2-pipe, okay? I can come out the side wall. I can go out with a chimney. I can go out through a metal chase. I can go out through all different types of chases. We give you different options. We do have low profile kits that sit low on the wall. Oh, sorry, pressing the wrong button. Here we go. I'll get there. Right there. I'm not always a fan of low profile kits. Be aware of wind. So if you're putting a low profile kit on the side of the building, they look much nicer. I understand that. But if it's a breezy area, you have the opportunity where at least up to a 5-mile-per-hour wind, you can recirculate flue gases. All right, and if your appliance is going through a lot of igniters, that might be the issue, so you may have to extend the exhaust piping regardless. Just be aware of that, things we have seen. You can see that I don't have to be in the same pressure zone. All right, most manufacturers now give you that opportunity, so we have your air intake on one side and our flue gas exhaust on the other side. We do give you the opportunity of doing 2-pipe and then a concentric through the wall or through the roof. All right, you'll see that a lot of our outdoor connections are in black. They have extra UV ratings. Our gray pipe can also be exposed to the outdoors. All right, but I would like to see us use the proper Centrotherm outdoor connections for roof or wall type of installs. So we give you all these different options. If you want to know, does Centrotherm make the appliance adapter for my appliance, just go to their website. Part of your download today is the Centrotherm catalog, but this changes almost daily. So as the appliances change, Centrotherm will make an appliance adapter for that appliance. We basically have almost 100% acceptance with the majority of the manufacturers out there for our product. So we encourage you to always go to their website to see if they have that adapter for your product. And if not, they can make stuff. It's not, beyond them to come up with a custom type of product. One of the things I wanted to focus on today is the flexible. The flexible venting allows you then to take an existing chimney and use that as my exhaust. Who wants to see that white plume, especially when it gets really cold out in the winter, coming out of the side of a building or the side of somebody's home? So if you can use that chimney, if it's not sharing a common flue with a fireplace, all right, you can use my product. The flexible allows you to get down to that chimney, either from the roof or actually feeding it up from the bottom. And then we can make our connections to our appliance. If I've got some offset in there, as long as I'm not going above 45-degree angle on the offset, we can use our flexible. And you'll see that we have the base support. So I can use base support, use our straight products, and then adapt to it with flexible to go through those offsets. So I have a couple of cool slides here to show you what's going on. So here the gentleman is going from the top, and he's just fishing the flexible down and then making his connection at the bottom there. There's going to be a base support at the bottom, and then he's going to use our straight pipe coming out of that chimney to connect to the appliance. Okay, now you can see those white plastic tabs around the product. The white plastic tabs, and I have one here, this is what's going to keep it, this white plastic tab is what's going to keep it centered within that cavity. All right, so it's not just floppy in there. You're going to have these supports throughout the length of that floppy or flexible piping, and that's what's going to keep it centered within that chase. Okay? So the Innoflue Flex by Centrotherm, same temperature ratings, all right? It's got the same UL 1738 standard, all right? We passed our leakage test, we passed the pull test, we passed the UV ratings, stability, that ASTM G23-81. I stay up at night studying these things, trust me, okay? And again, we can go up to, we soften at 302 degrees. So this is a great product. So if I want to use the chimney as my chase, I can. I also have the ability to use other chases too. Existing B vent can be used as a chase, and a gypsum type cavity can also be used as a chase. So here we're showing you, I highlighted that it's a higher temperature rating than even CPVC, and you can get continuous lengths up to 150 feet. Okay. Over here, what did we highlight? I highlighted the temperature. All right. One of the things to be aware of, if I'm working at temperatures less than 30 to 32 degrees outdoors, kind of just like PEX pipe, I do need to keep this warm to keep the flexibility up. All right. So if you're going to be working in temperatures below 32 degrees, try to keep this as warm as you can just to make for an easier install. So this is made, the flexible that you can see here, and this is our mock-up of it. This is made, sorry, Chris, I'm not giving you good notice. This is made for masonry chimneys, B vent or L vent chases. We can use that as our chase, or a gypsum chase. Got some really good pictures up here, job applications. So here's the Flex, again, showing you how we can overcome the 45-degree offset. our terminations, that's a word I couldn't think of before, for our universal B vent cap or chimney cover, we make those. So right there on the top, we can cap it off to keep the rainwater out. Bird screen, make sure the birds aren't, or the raccoons aren't making a home there. And this is how we can use that to go through offsets, or even down a straight chimney. It's easier to slide it in and out. If you go on YouTube, you can see different videos of contractors installing this flex. The one I was just watching the other day, the contractor's fishing it up from the bottom. It's kind of funny. He keeps yelling up the chase. You got it? You good? More? And you can see the supports on there to keep it centered in the chase. And really within 5 minutes, they've got it lined up and ready to go.
Yeah, personally, I would rather do it from the top down, just in case there's any debris inside the chimney. So something to keep in mind.
Well, somebody would have to be at the top, because once we get it from the top, we have to put our cap on there, our chimney cap, our termination, and secure that. So somebody does have to be on the top of the roof. Rob, stop that. Okay. B vent, right? If we're going to line the pipe with B vent, sometimes on commercial, we get this big B vent, and we can run multiple Interflu flexible piping through that B vent from multiple appliances. A lot of times we have seen jobs where we got these big boilers. They're going to be replaced with multiple condensing boilers. They're going to be fired in sequence based on outdoor temperature, making sure they're all firing within condensing mode. So that means I've got multiple vents, exhaust vents for each boiler, and air intake. And I could have a very large B vent that's already there, and I can use that as my chase. So what we're showing you here is I'm using my straight pipe and elbow or 45 to get to that ceiling level or lower floor level. There I then have my base support right over here, my base support supporting the pipe, and then running through the B vent chase is my flexible product, and then I have my termination on the top. So we can have multiple flue configuration or just a single flue configuration cap on the top. You also have a configuration here where using my Blitz Flex air intake pipe, I can use the same chase for my exhaust and my air intake, and my cap will accommodate both. So I can exhaust higher up, bring in combustion air lower through the same termination cap. So a nice feature there. Because what did I tell you up front? Rob, what did I say? If we cannot vent this properly, don't put the appliance in. So we go on a lot of commercial jobs, especially commercial kitchens and what have you, and we're now going to replace big boilers with multiple boilers. Like I said, run them in series, keep them in condensing mode, and I got a big B vent chase, run my piping through there. All right. We do have the adapters to go from the flex to hard or straight pipe, as I said, and then we can connect to our appliance from there. All right. So here's some really cool pictures. All right. This is right from Centrotherm. So this is utilizing on the left multiple exhaust terminations, multiple flues going through one large B vent chase. You can see on the bottom of the picture here, there are my base supports. All right, so you can see that plastic enclosure. That is the base support we're connecting to. You need to either use our support, or here they're using some Unistrut type of product. And then we're using our standard pipe here to connect to our appliance. Here's another good picture here, where you can easily see our base support right there. There's our termination, if you want to call it. That's going to go to our standard pipe, and I have my flex piping there going up through the B vent. All right, so another great option. Again, if I can't vent the appliance correctly, I should use a different appliance. So here I'm giving you options where we can use our flex product. Okay, here's another picture of that same install. Again, you can see my support. You can see my standard pipe coming into that L, into my support, and then the flex product going up through this big V vent chase. All right, so we got multiple appliances venting through the same chase. Okay. Here on somebody's home, contractors up on the roof, He's going to use the universal tool called a Sawzall. He's going to cut that B vent off. He's going to cut that mushroom cap off. One of Rob's favorite things to do, go out there and work with a Sawzall, right, Robbie?
It's all right.
Hey.
I like chainsaws better.
You like chainsaws better. He's a scary guy. All right. And now they're feeding the flex down from the top of the roof. And then the finish is going to be here with that B vent cap. All right. So a lot of options here, guys. A lot of options. So, don't make running the venting a problem. Look for the different opportunities you have on the job and look for the opportunity of using Centrotherm as your option because we're going to give you a lot of options. We do have a design and layout services, vent boom, technical support. So we use this a lot, especially on commercial jobs. So if you could sketch it out, we can then send that to Centrotherm and their engineers will lay out your bill of materials for that venting system. Okay? Very nice feature that we have. We have used that often and it helps us out in securing those jobs. And you're going to give a professional job and a professional proposal because you're going to show them a venting design. Okay? So we want to up the level of our professionalism using the right products and the right designs. Robbie, how are we working here?
I have one question here. Do we need a neutralizer at the bottom of the tees?
No. The condensate, we are fine with condensate. The condensate's not going to bother our product. Your appliance manufacturer, if it's a condensing product, that heat exchanger is built to be able to handle that aggressive condensate, though they have to be serviced. You got to clean them. But then getting rid of that condensate from that appliance, we just can't dump it down some type of metal drain. You're going to eat up that drain really quick. There you're going to have to neutralize it. All right?
Perfect.
What else you got?
That's it for now.
That's it for now?
Yep.
Okay. So we are just under an hour. How do you like that, Chris? From 70 slides down? Chris was worried about death from PowerPoint. Why? All right, anyway. Next week, very important to us, and we hope it's important to you, we're doing our CSG Open Forum. So please join us. All 5 of us are going to be there. Anthony, Rick, Rob, John, and myself. You're going to see us all on the screen. And we want you guys to ask us questions on any of the classes that we have done for our fall training. All right, our fall training started on September 14th. We ended on December 14th. And come prepared with your questions. If you want to email us your questions prior, email us your questions and come with as many questions as you want. So if you want to talk about the air source product we've been talking about, air source heat pumps for water heating or space heating, you want to talk about low voltage wiring, troubleshooting, A.O. Smith water conditioning, anything with our hydronics that we talked about, sizing pipe, pump, what have you. You got a problem job. Give us an opportunity to help you out. We're eager to find out what you're looking for so we can customize our webinars going forward to meet your needs. This is very important to us. We want to make sure that we're helping you build your business and giving you more confidence when you're out there in the field. So come next week, there is no presentation. It will be based on your questions. So please come with your questions. Email us your questions if you'd like to. You can send them to jdepalma@walesdarby.com, rclemens@walesdarby.com, jresso@walesdarby.com, rcoster@walesdarby.com, atassi@walesdarby.com. Or can we send them to marketing also, guys? And marketing@walesdarby.com. That might be the easiest one. All right, so if you want to think about it, email your questions as we get ready for that class next week. We'd really appreciate it. And again, thank you very much. No other questions, Robbie?
Nope, that's it.
All right, I thank you very much for tuning in. We will see you next week. Bring your questions. We're excited for that. Thank you very much. Have a great day.